Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our entitled parents. In today's episode, parents leave me 14F with a very sick baby and refuse to return until they have had enough fun. Entitled Aunt and Uncle Mad my brother gets an iPad, but then buy a tablet for their 2-year-old daughter. Ready to move as far as possible from them. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Parents leave me 14F with a very sick baby and refuse to return until they have had enough fun. When I was 14, 20 years ago, I had been babysitting around my small town for 2 years. I had a great reputation with my regulars and would routinely stay until the early hours of the morning when the parents needed a night out. I would normally charge $15 an hour, but that would jump up to $20 after midnight. There was a wedding to be held in town, which meant people would be traveling to attend, and I was recommended to babysit by a trusted family friend. I had never met these parents before. Bit of backstory: at the time there was a big outbreak of meningococcal. There had been cases of it from where these parents were traveling from, and as a kid who was interested in stuff like this, I had read up all about it and knew the symptoms. The night of the wedding comes and I arrive at the hotel to meet the parents. The baby is 1, and I thought it would be an easy night because I normally have 3 or 4 kids to look after. It was a really hot summer night, and the baby was just in a nappy. The mother mentioned he was teething and might be a little whiny, but nothing I couldn't handle. About an hour after they had left, around 2 p.m., the baby woke up and was screaming. He was hot. I mean, so hot to the touch that I pulled my hands back when I went to pick him up. I tried to calm him and cool him, but to no avail. Any food or drink I tried to give him, he vomited straight up, and he was constantly soiling his nappy with a steady stream of diarrhea. At 4 p.m., when I knew the ceremony was over, I called the mother to tell her about her very sick child. This wasn't just teething. His temperature was soaring, and she didn't even leave any ibuprofen or anything to help with that. She sighed into the phone and told me she'd be there in 20 minutes. Where the reception was, it was a 2-minute walk back to the hotel. After waiting 2 hours and the baby not getting any better, I rang again and was ignored 3 times. By this stage, it had cooled down outside, so I took the baby for a little walk along the veranda to try and distract him. However, I had locked myself out when I went to go back in. The baby vomited again and did a massive shard at the same time that dripped out from the nappy. So at this stage, I was covered in vomit and shit, locked out, no phone, and with a screaming baby. I had to walk through reception at the hotel, which happened to be attached to the restaurant, so those dining got a good eyeful and smell to go with their dinner. The lady at the front desk let me back in the room, and I tried to ring again. The mother finally answered, and I said, "Your baby is terribly sick. He's hot, vomiting, and seemed like he had a rash starting to develop, which is a giveaway for meningococcal." She sighed again. They had just started dinner and would be straight back after that. And please don't try to call again. Another 2 hours later, around 9:30, I rang my mother and she came to help out and bring me a change of clothes. We finally got the baby down about 11, and I rang one last time. Said that I had my mother with me and I would be leaving at 12 after I called an ambulance for their obviously seriously sick child. That mother ended up coming at 11:45, drunk as hell, and very upset that I had ruined her night. She couldn't enjoy herself because she kept worrying that I was going to call. She cussed me out about the smell in the room and how many nappies and bottles I had gone through. My mom stood back and let me handle it, but spoke up and said if I could get paid now because we needed to get home. The mother handed me an envelope and shut the door in my face. $20. That was all in the envelope. I was owed $150. Mom knew we wouldn't get her to answer the door again, so she took me home. The next morning, Mom woke me up with the extra $130. She had gone to the hotel at 7 a.m., and once she told the manager what had happened, the manager slipped a note under the hotel door saying that due to the extra cleaning and disinfecting that would need to be done to the room, there was to be an extra charge of $200 put on the room, plus the extra $130 that our in-house sitter was owed. When everyone looks after each other in a small town, it is a nice feeling. Apparently, that father blew up when the extra charges were put on his card, didn't realize the baby was so sick and was swearing at his hungover wife. The mother was screaming about the unsatisfactory babysitting I did, and they left in a huff. I think about that poor baby every now and again, hoping that he was all right and got over what was making him sick. I was in a small panic for about a week, waiting to get sick too, but thankfully, and by some miracle, I didn't. Edit. I'm Australian, so no CPS to call here. Our equivalent is called docs, and there is no way, if I would have called them, that they would have come to our town before the parent got home. We are hours away from anywhere. The ambulance thing I get though. Now, at my age, and being a mother, I would have without hesitation, but at 14, I wanted mom there to assess the situation first. I mentioned the meningococcal outbreak as another layer of the shiftiness of the parents. Who leaves a sick baby when there's an outbreak of that? It was all over the news for weeks. However, even though that's where my brain went while I was there by myself given the baby's symptoms, once my mom turned up, she was 100% confident this baby had gastro or another tummy bug. And the rash was a heat rash and agitation from me constantly cleaning him. She had 5 kids and worked in the hospital. Me at 14 trusted her judgment, and hell, even now I'll call her when I need advice for my 2 kids. The baby was sleeping soundly before the mother got home. That's why she acted the way she did once she saw he was asleep. She didn't think there was a problem, and all that I had been through during the afternoon was an overreaction. And finally, yes, that's what I charged 20 years ago, and every single family was happy to pay it, except this one, of course. I was a really good babysitter. The kids loved me, and I loved looking after them. In fact, I'm bridesmaid next weekend for a woman that I met when I started babysitting when she was 3. Always stayed in touch, and I became her second mother and helped her through a lot of things. Can't wait to see her get married. That is just harsh. The EM knew that the baby was suffering and rather had fun instead or helping her own baby. As a mother myself now, I wouldn't dream of leaving my kids with a teenager that I hadn't met before, especially when they were so sick. The family friend that recommended me was very apologetic and offered more money. She didn't know though, and she's a sweet lady. She got me in with a family with 3 kids a little while later, whose father was a barrister. I definitely was never shortchanged with them, almost was paid double. You should have called an ambulance and let the authorities deal with the parents. That's the adult call after hearing the whole story, but she did the best one would expect of a 14-year-old at the time. Christ on sale. I would have called an ambulance and child services the moment they refused to come back to their very, very sick baby. Any kind of fever for a baby is potentially deadly. I know, right? Mom was the savior, and after 5 kids herself knew the tricks to cool him down. By the time we got him to sleep, he was a bit better. If she didn't come and help, I would have definitely called the ambulance. There's only so much a 14-year-old can do. Poor kid. Only thought of this story again last night because my daughter had a fever. I was with her all night making sure she was okay, like any normal parent. Yeah, if she was an adult and the baby died or had irreversible damage, she could have gotten sued. Entitled Aunt and Uncle Mad my brother gets an iPad, but then buy a tablet for their 2-year-old daughter. Okay, this happened a long time ago, but my extended family is so entitled, so you'll see me around a lot. In today's story, we will go back to 2011. My uncle, my mom's brother, and his wife were always the kind of people to be *tch about anything that people would do with their life. Anyway, back in 2011, my brother was graduating high school and was about to start university. By that time, my parents were deciding if they should buy him an iPad so he wouldn't have to be carrying heavy books around. He needed to take pictures of the board. He took it with the iPad, browsing information while studying. Browse it in the iPad instead of the computer. Basically using the iPad as some sort of big library for his studies. My dad at the time told my uncle about his predicament because he had never used an iPad while he studied and he didn't want to waste a couple of $100 just for it to be treated like a toy or just not used at all. My uncle and aunt immediately flipped over and started saying that buying an iPad or any kind of tablet was a waste of money and that my brother wouldn't do shit with that. My brother was upset. He wanted his iPad. He thought that carrying an iPad and a notebook around was better than carrying a bunch of books, calculator, mini notebooks, and sometimes a laptop around. Anyway, a couple of months passed. We are in November. My brother started university in September. If this is necessary, in my country, unless the university is in another state, people usually stay with their parents while studying. On November, we went to my uncle and aunt's apartment to celebrate my cousin's birthday. At that moment, it was her second birthday. My cousin is about to get fussy until my uncle gets a tablet out of nowhere and gives it to her. My dad asks my uncle why he gave a tablet to a baby, and my uncle says he discovered that with a tablet my cousin doesn't get fussy while on planes. They used to travel a lot when my cousin was a baby. We are talking and stuff, and my aunt decided to take pictures. She then takes another tablet. My mother asks her about her old digital camera. My aunt just said that it was old and she needed something new. That day, none of us said a thing. We just went back to our house after celebrating that birthday and didn't say a thing. The next day, my dad took my brother to get him his iPad. My brother did use his iPad for university. It was 1 or 2 games, but it had majorly books or engineering-related apps. On Christmas, the dinner was on my parents' house as always, and the moment my brother took his iPad, my aunt and uncle went crazy, stating that my dad just wasted money and that my brother would just use it to play games, to which my mom stone cold replied with, "Like your 2-year-old daughter?" They went silent. Anyway, they tried to badmouth my brother's iPad every chance they could, but my parents learned to not take my uncle seriously. Have your aunt or uncle either been diagnosed as psychotic? Because it seems totally insane to me raise crap about a college student using a tablet for study when they are handing one to a 2-year-old so they don't have to actually take care of their child. What total losers. Love how they praise the iPad as a substitute parent, but not as the tool it's meant to originally be used as. I'm more concerned that your parents would listen to them instead of the son who would benefit from the iPad. Do as I say, not as I do. I'd be asking aunt and uncle which cult they belong to. Yoda says the hypocrisy is strong with this one. When my daughter turned 13, 12 years ago, I got her a cell phone. It was back in the day and nothing fancy. My ex and his new wife were at the party. His wife was 22 or 23. They had a kid that was 2, maybe 3. She got so mad that I didn't buy that son of theirs a cell phone and I was showing favoritism. Not my kid, and my ex was in his 40s. I laughed so hard I almost peed myself. She hasn't stopped bad-mouthing me since. Now our kids are adults, mine and the ex, and she still to this day hammers on my parenting. Why did your dad even ask his brother? It would take 5 seconds to Google if it's worth getting an iPad for your use case. Ready to move as far as possible from them. Tonight my parents asked me to come to their house for a dinner party they were throwing for 9 people. I agreed to join. It turned into me getting there 2 hours early with half their shopping list, prepping and serving their guests and clearing the table between courses, serving wine and dessert, etc. Then they had the nerve to insist that I don't leave so soon because, aren't you going to stay and clean up? This was their last-minute dinner party for their friends. I forced a smile and went home, but I felt my face getting so hot. I got home and screamed a few times into a bath towel, which helped. I am an only child and daughter, 30. This is constant with them, just living 10 minutes down the road. Has anyone's relationship with their entitled parents improved significantly since moving far away from them? If they have done this before, it is time to immediately say, "Sorry, but I already have plans." You don't need to let them know that your plans are to stay home and watch TV. They are using you for basically unpaid labor. Do they also make you pay for the food? Honestly, when they came up with "Aren't you going to stay and clean up?" I would have told them it was their dinner party, not mine. So the dishes are your problem, since I did all the work bringing, preparing, cooking, and serving. The very least they can do is clean the thing dishes, because you sure as hell weren't going to. Leave out the sorry, they don't need it. In front of guests, I've just spent the last 3 hours shopping, preparing, and serving your dinner party, which I was invited to as a guest, not a servant. No, I will be going home. Please don't invite me next time. There is a great term to learn: weaponized incompetence. Screw up their next party, and every task you don't want to do. Don't answer messages from your parents for at least a week. If they try the same stunt, they will end up either hungry or scrambling for something to eat. You can say you were busy or didn't see their message. I know what you mean. I don't necessarily have to cook or clean up. I do help them when I can, though. But my relationship drastically improved when I moved away 20 minutes apart, and now they moved 1 hour apart, so we don't see each other that often. When we do, they're actually super nice to me, since they missed me for so long, a week or two. Why can't go wrong there? I'm also 30, and trust me, having your own free will far away from parents is the best thing you can do. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.